When I met my late business partner, who passed away 6 months back, we met through a common friend, and he says, hey, what do you want to do later in life? We were 22, 23, what age is that? So I said, well, I guess when I'm 40, and I'm 48 now, right? So I guess when I'm 40, I want to have my own ad agency. So then Al says, well, what's the harm in starting one tomorrow? He was fascinated by the idea that you have to sell nothing. Well, it's not really nothing, but it's nothing tangible. And he came from the business family. So for him, how do you sell something how do you sell that? Well, something that fascinated him. And I said, well, you don't. You just need a phone and an attitude to get an ad agency going. Of course, much later you need everything else too, but just to start off, that's what he needed. And that's how we started. I was 23, he was 23 and a half, and I had a Jeep, a Potohar Jeep, that was the agency. We went to a bureau service, which is sort of where computers and things are sort of placed for other people to come and use at the time. And we used a bureau service, and that's how we started very, very organically. That's why it's taken me 20, 25 years to build something. So for example, we don't designate, we cast people. Because the whole idea about designating people and giving them, a job to do is hard. Whereas people are actually born to fit a role they were meant to play. So we cast people, and we hire for character because skills can be taught. So there's this really amazing Latin phrase. I'm going to sound pretentious, but the only reason why I remember this is because it has the word Demedi in it. It has sort of like my agency's name in it. So, and it's initium demedium facti, right? And what it loosely translates as is the start is 50% done. The start is half the finish. And that's really what an entrepreneur needs to do. Nothing is planned. It's all circumstantial. And the only thing that might guide you is your internal radar, a honed-in instinct. Experience only means a honed instinct. It doesn't mean that, these are all these years. That's how people think, right? Archives in the mind. No, there are no archives in the mind. I forgot what I did 4 hours ago. It's just the instinct is honed over a period of time, so you don't make the same mistakes over and over again. For thousands of years, we've been following the same principle of barter and trade and giving your word and standing by your word. And men and women who do that today are the ones who will succeed. Those that don't, won't. We have to work with people, right? So you have to be as good as your word. You have to be, that's what business is. It's not knowing Excel. Business is being a man of your word and being able to deliver what you promise. That's really that it is. And you can do that in any business. It's not rocket science. I don't think so. This is a business of poets and artists and storytellers. And the way poets and artists combine words and pictures, that's really the crux of our craft. And whether it's the digital media, or before that, whether it was television, or before that, whether it was radio or cinema, it doesn't matter what the medium is. What matters is what the craft is, who the craftsmen are, and what medium we choose to display our work in. I'm sure there's going to be something after the digital age. We're hearing all kinds of things happening with respect to modern technology. So technology only amplifies and extenuates what we do. It doesn't replace or sort of dampen the spirit of who we are or how we approach our craft. But the key ingredient about any form of communication is how single-minded it is. How whatever the core benefit is of any product is sort of amplified with a signature thought, and how that signature thought is brought alive through the tools that are available to you at any given time. So generally 50% is a great idea, and a great idea on a piece of cardboard is fantastic. And if a great idea on a piece of cardboard can be amplified through production values, that's the other 50%. So collectively, these two things ought to come together, the sort of technical craft as well as the intellectual craft. The manner in which they come together will help you produce the right kind of communication. Copy, great ads with amazing copy. I'm a fanatic about long copy, although most people wouldn't ever sort of think that people believe in long copy. If the headline were, everything you wanted to read about Zahra, I've totally targeted you now, and I wrote 1,000 words, you would read every single one of those 1,000 words. You see my point? Right. So it's really how you manifest the hook, but the bottom line is how well do you tell a story, and the manner in which the words and pictures come together. They called us the persuasion industry. And some early writers were like, these hypnotists come in and they manipulate and play with your mind, and they sort of allure you with magical it was as if this was a form of magic. But if you think about it, it might be, but all theater is a suspension of disbelief. And advertising really is also that. You walk in and you have to suspend your disbelief, because you want to believe and you want to fall for the promise that is being made. And the promise that's being made is not a manipulative commercial message. The promise that's being made is a story behind what that product represents. And at the end of the day, all of us, whether we're people or whether we're products, are stories that are dying to be represented in some way. So teaching is not about imparting knowledge. Teaching is about entertaining. So that's what you do, right? Yeah. It's showmanship, and you keep it brief, so it doesn't become boring, and you switch really, really fast, and you keep changing the dynamic of the lesson so that you're able to see it from different ways. So any of my classes are never structured. My classes evolve through instinct. You see, there's a vibe in the class, and I follow that vibe. And then what we teach is very interesting as well. For example, in our first semester, we teach poetics, we teach scansion, we teach kids how to write sonnets. They're not literary majors, right? Yeah. We teach them how to write sonnets, and they write sonnets about a Snicker bar or a Mars bar or any commercial product, but it's in meter, and the rhyme scheme has to follow a particular way. So this way we tune the ear. In the second year, in the second semester, we do 6-word stories. A full narrative in 6 words, and other sort of prose exercises. In this way, we sort of tune the language and word choice and diction. So once your ear and your capacity to use sound as words is sort of fine-tuned, then simultaneously I'm teaching them 100 different advertising techniques. None of these techniques matter, because at the end of the day, the person will do what comes to their mind. But what the technique helps us sort of understand is, this is an approach, this is entertaining, this is a way to look at it, and how are the principles that we're already teaching them, the principles of your visual language and your sort of oral language, the poetics and the arts, the words and the pictures, how do they meld? How do they come together? And so long as there is a slight, even 2% appreciation of that, I think that kid is on his way to discovering it on his own. You just have to lay the seed. And I sort of despise the old world way of teaching, of just, barraging someone and, overloading them with useless facts. The generation today has facts on their fingertips, so you're much better going after the truth. And truth is more important than fact. So that's what we do in class.